Hi, I'm Al Salehai.
And I'm Mekabiz Mohajer.
Welcome to another episode of The
Doctor
and the Devil's Advocate. Today we wanted to talk to you about male performance.
Yes.
And really, number one, does size matter? I know you have some opinion on the topic.
Yes.
Number two, what advice can you have as far as performance, specifically sexually, for males who want to...
You're totally kidding, right?
No.
Except that we're talking about conspiracy theories. And you come out male performance suddenly. It came from left field. Okay, we can talk about male performance. Okay, go ahead.
What advice do you have, if any, if you have any experience on this?
Size absolutely matters.
Okay.
The people who say size doesn't matter don't have a good size. I mean, if you be very honest with it. But it's not the end all. You could have a nice size and not have a nice performance.
The reason I bring this up is
Yes.
because there was a recent research article just a few days ago that came out that stated that even though, and I will interject previous research, even though females are able to have multiple orgasms in
Yes.
one sexual scenario where a man can only have one limited orgasm, the female actually orgasms less than the male.
Yes.
And a lot of this has to do with the distance between the clitoris and the CUDM, or the orifice where the urine comes from. That's what they call it, CUMD, actually. So this particular distance, 2 or 3 centimeter distance, if it is above that distance, the female is less likely to ever orgasm. When it is lower, due to multiple reasons, sensational and frictional, the female is actually able to then achieve orgasm.
Wonderful.
And this is an important research point because it's completely new information.
Yes.
Knowing this, does this change your mind in any form of approach and advice?
Yes, of course, right? I mean,
I don't know, I'm asking you, does it?
yes. I mean, but the point is, I wouldn't need a research team to tell me that if you're with someone, if they're not, my policy has always been that.
You have a policy on the topic.
Absolutely, I do.
I see. That's why I want to hear what it is.
It's a one.
What goes on in that weird mind of yours?
It's 100% policy that if I'm with a human being,
A human being as opposed to other
it's
things
not
that you
what
may
I'm-
be with.
You're right. I'm talking about a figure of speech. If I'm with a girl, she needs to 100%. Why are you laughing? If I'm with a girl, she needs to 100% reach climax. She needs to,
Or else what happens?
well, I do what I need to do to make sure that
So,
happens.
some females have never experienced orgasm, even though they may
not,
believe.
Not any of the females that have. No, again, I don't. Listen, I cannot explain to her what is an orgasm, but I keep going, doing
How
what
do you
I
even
need to.
know? How do you know the person's orgasm? Just because they told you?
No, because of the reaction, how they
Reaction.
feel, how they're
Tell me.
acting, how they're being.
What would you believe? Because
Well,
it's different. It's actually different. There is no
Really want to
established...
have this conversation?
Well, it's science.
Science.
There's nothing
okay.
to be afraid
so
of.
this is Al's brand new answer for anything. I can say whatever the heck I want, whenever I want, because it's science. Okay, no problem. It's
but
science.
it is.
It's science.
I don't understand.
It's science. Okay, it's science. So you don't know the people the
I
limited
actually take-
number of people you've been with. You don't know when.
Don't
they're-
make assumptions, but go ahead.
When
What?
don't you know when they are reaching a climax?
Oh, I'm asking you, what... I do. I can tell you the physical cues that are involved
Well,
because I know the research.
okay.
But I'd like to know what you believe
The same
from
physical cues
from the
you-
street. What you believe they are, because
the
I
same
don't-
physical cues.
the
you
same
believe
ones.
are, the same ones. You just have funky names for them.
I see. So you see certain things and you believe that you've witnessed.
Absolutely.
a female orgasm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I know 100%. I've experienced.
You've experienced
the
the female orgasm.
No, I haven't experienced it for myself
I
as
see.
far as because I'm not a female, obviously, and I can prove that immediately. If you'd like to come over to the side
That's
of the table,
fine. Keep
I
it
can show you.
scientific.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
exactly. But the bottom line is that from a knowing the cues, of the person reaching that level of pleasure, yes.
I think you brought up the perfect point that I wanted to actually open up. You see, one of the things that has been brought out from this research article, which of course is anatomical in nature, but then goes to talk about limitation theories for female orgasm, one of the reasons that there's been much less discussion for female orgasm and even manual stimulation for the females during intercourse is simply because it's something that we consider wrong to talk about. Lack
True.
of discussion, lack of education on a topic that is scientific, that is a part of life, that is part of the sexual process, because we feel it's not relevant or is wrong to talk about or
Taboo.
bad to talk about, makes it so that strategies to approach and achieve that goal are then limited.
Sure.
So I do believe that this kind of conversation should take place, if not more so.
Yes.
It's okay to have fun with it. It was originally a fun topic. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
But
yes.
there should be strategies and advice to see how we can achieve the greatest mutual bilateral
Yes.
climax.
True.
And there you go. And by bilateral, I mean two individuals at the same time, if
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
But
Two or more.
Two or more.
Just
It
two.
could be.
Just two.
It
Okay.
could be.
Just two. I'm sorry. Just two. Okay.
All right. So strategies. There are. I don't know if you are aware, but you may be. I'll let the audience know.
I'm dying to hear what you're about to say.
Both females and males may not know this, but the female actually has two different types of orgasm.
Yeah, of course, I knew this.
Okay.
Actually, three, but that's besides the point.
Three.
Yes, I don't want to get into the third one right now. It's inappropriate. But go ahead.
That should be kind of interesting. Okay, but there's two established ones in
Yes.
science.
Yes.
One is vaginal,
Yes.
and one is clitoral.
Yes.
One is established through
Go ahead. I'm gonna write something down. Go ahead.
Intercourse. The other one can sometimes be achieved through intercourse, but generally it is frictional.
Yes.
And it is manual and can be given by the opposing
Yes.
partner.
Yes.
So there are other strategies to achieve, for example, these two that I mentioned, from different ways, from different positions, and even from different areas, but they're still activating those two areas anatomically.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So it is important to understand, I do know that a lot of social psychologists will say that the female orgasm occurs in the mind. That's a half-truth, meaning not that it's a lie, that it is true, however, it is a function of what allows the orgasm to take place. Within the mind of a female, again, the interpretation being very emotional and sex being a very emotional act, as opposed for a male where it could be more physical in the derivation and approach to that act. For the female, there needs to be an established feeling of passion, love, trust that then allows these, for example, two valves to be able to be manipulated in a way where she allows herself to orgasm. So I know you feel that you are the Don Juan.
I've never claimed that. Many have,
but the women who may or may not have orgasm, let's say in this case, have orgasm with you.
Yes.
You did actually not.
Nothing. Yes. Thank you so much.
They allowed themselves first, primarily.
Sure. To
be given that trust, to then allow themselves to be reached there, and you simply help them.
Yes. I was a facilitator.
That's right. Reach that goal. So we agree on that point.
Yes, we agree that I'm a great facilitator.
We agree that it has to be a facilitated project, and that the mind, being the greatest
100% agree.
Machine,
100% agree.
allows
For the men
for the
too,
orgasm.
sometimes.
Tell me how that works.
Well, have you ever spoken to friends that cannot reach, the position of, because they're not, their male sexual organ is not.
They're not erect?
They're not erect enough or erect. It's because sometimes there's mental blockages also. So there is that.
That's a really good point. Erection is also, even though it's a fairly simple process,
yes.
It is complicated in the sense as to why or why not there are dysfunctions. There are the mechanisms for an erection are simply blood flow, and there are the shrinkages of vessels within the penis that then allows the blood to then remain in a sustained area and occupy a similar space for a longer period of time, which then establishes this erection.
Yes.
The erection, of course, being the primary tool for intercourse to allow then the ejaculation of sperm to then ovulate inevitably.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Nicely put it. Go ahead.
Well, that's what happened.
Absolutely.
And I apologize for saying it's
I think
science.
everyone knows.
Because it is. No,
you
no,
and
not,
your science, you're driving
not
me
everybody
crazy.
knows. Not everybody knows.
Not everybody knows what an erection is for?
Not everybody knows how it works.
Okay.
And that, in order,
how it works,
yeah.
yes. I agree.
In order
the
to
blood
then,
vessel scenario.
Right. In order to establish dysfunction, one must first understand
The function, yes.
Okay, that's the layout.
Nicely put.
Right. So now moving on to why this function may be limited.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it can be mental. And those mental proceedings can be, for example, guilt. They can be self-consciousness due to weight gain, lack of hygiene, lack of maybe interest. It could be an issue with the partner that they're having emotionally or physically that causes that kind of a distraction to take place. But it can also be health. People with abnormal blood pressure, whether it be high or abnormally low. People have been known also with high cholesterol, or even high content of fat, are not able to have the anatomical disposition that is ideal for not only sexual activity, but also to maintain a positive and healthy erection for intercourse. So a good health, a good diet can also go a long way. Supplemental drugs, and the three big ones, are Cialis, Levitra, and Viagra. These drugs help by, in many cases, improving that blood flow. Some of the reason that they are prescription based is because it does put a little bit of a higher demand on the heart. So your physician would need to look at you to make sure that your heart is healthy
enough for sexual activity.
And not only that, but a little more so if you're going to be using this aid. I know a lot of women believe that that erection that's achieved by these drugs, they call it a fake erection, but it is not fake. The drug does not actually, I'm just helping to dispel rumors, the drug does not actually create erections. The erection process still needs to happen. The male still needs to be excited for the brain to establish the command and then the demand to allow that blood to flow. That entire function is still mental, and then it becomes anatomical. The drug helps to just facilitate the order from the brain.
Sure.
So those are the facts on the ground. Now go ahead and tell me, what do you do? Do you ever think about baseball sometimes?
Oh my God, we're having this discussion now. I think we should. You want to talk about me? No.
I mean, one of the biggest things I get all the time is not only why is it not happening, but why is it happening too soon?
That's premature, you mean?
Premature ejaculation.
You explain premature ejaculation. I don't have that issue, so explain to me premature ejaculation from a scientific perspective.
I know a lot of people don't have that issue, but it happens. Some people have this issue.
Yeah.
And just because you feel you're superior in some way,
it
doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it.
You're putting these words in the mouth of...
I don't want to talk about what you put in your mouth. I just want to talk about what goes on with this particular issue and how we can address it.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that some people look to different aids. Some people use, for example, desensitization creams, like the kind of stuff that you might use, gel that you might use on your teeth at a dentist's office to get the sensitization away. Some of that can be dangerous, depending on how it goes. It may interact with your own fluids or go inside of your urethra, which can also cause a burning or, in some cases, some damage. So I would not necessarily recommend that.
No.
But what many people don't know is that most condoms actually have desensitization cream inside of them, which automatically reduces that urge. Another thing that is also helpful are Kegel exercises. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
No, I'm not. But I'm sure you're going to demonstrate.
I don't want to demonstrate, but both females and males can use this. There are muscles in the groin area that can be exercised, and a doctor by the name of Kegel has come up with this a while ago. And the basic anatomical exercise is that to be able to strengthen those muscles that can actually override, in many cases, the physical urge to allow for ejaculation would be to urinate and then stop urination mid-flow and then allow it to go and then stop and repeat.
Interesting.
That particular exercise actually strengthens those muscles and allows you to be able to physically control the orgasm from happening, which then would terminate the sexual activity. This particular exercise also helps females, not with orgasm, but with strength and with tightness when you're looking at me. That is a issue that women deal with. Did you know that there's an entire field of medicine that centers around something called vaginal rejuvenation?
Yes.
It's basically
I see the billboards in Westwood all the time.
Right. So this is something that's going on.
Happens.
People pay lots of money for it.
To get vaginally rejuvenated.
Right. It occurs. So I'm saying that prior to doing that, there are other
exercises
things that you can do.
Yes, to rejuvenate your vagina yourself, apparently.
He has no respect, obviously, for the vagina.
You're bringing this stuff up. I'm just saying you can, do it yourself. It's a taboo subject. I
And
don't
you're
think-
obviously uncomfortable with
I'm
it.
uncomfortable talking about it because it really, but it's fine. You brought it up from a scientific perspective.
We're talking about how to bring it up and keep it up. That's the whole
Apparently,
concept.
that's it. It's
Yeah.
not funny, but okay.
No, it's true.
Okay.
It's unfortunately true.
Are we done with this topic?
No, I'm just trying to see. I've been giving all these medical tidbits of advice. I just wanted to see on whatever your level, street level, experience level,
Yes, I've told
romantic
you.
level.
I told
how does
you.
the guy keep from doing it? I asked you, do you think of baseball?
No, but there are ways you can do that. There's ways you can control this in your head, and
Tell me.
also there's ways that you have.
When you say there's ways, and then you
Frequency.
it's like a wink and a smile. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Frequency of the activity also helps.
Okay, with the same individual or different
It
individuals?
doesn't matter. Just
Okay.
frequency. Period.
I would just
that
counter that it should be with the same individual
No, I
because
know,
then
no.
you're used to it. It's
I'm
not as
talking
new.
about the frequency of the ejaculation.
Okay.
Okay. In the sense that if you go for 2 weeks or a week and a half, 3 weeks, and then you go, then you're gonna have a harder time because you're ready to go. But if you frequently do that, then when you're in that situation, then it could be the frequency of the act allows you to go longer. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, there's two parts to that. If the union that you're experiencing is relatively new or if it's relatively old. If the union, the sexual partner that you have is a new partner,
It's gonna be harder.
it's going to be harder because you're excited
excitement,
by
yes.
the visual.
So the trick to a great relationship is to make the old partner feel new by a variety of different ways.
and to make yourself believe that the new partner is actually old.
Exactly.
So that you can then
Exactly.
last longer and give more
Exactly.
pleasure.
So it is a double-edged sword.
Very well said.
Thank you.
So in order to then give the female most amount of potential to orgasm, it's also important to then understand the history of the female to see how aware they are of their own body,
Yes.
their orgasm history, which you'd be more surprised to realize that
Many-
females don't really know.
Yeah.
It's not something
I-
that they're really educated necessarily
Or they
about,
talk
nor
about,
they
or
talk
they
about.
like to talk about.
Correct.
Yes. And I know of females that have not, that hardly or rarely they reach that scenario you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to understand what happens anatomically so that you can then help facilitate
Yes.
on both levels.
The centimeter or so.
Right, both manually
Yes.
and of course through intercourse. So and that manual could involve whatever methodology you want
Yes.
to use.
Which we're not really going to talk
No,
about
but-
today. Yeah.
You can use your imagination. for
Yes,
what
I
that
think
is.
people that are watching are using their imagination. Possibly are actually even committing this right now with their imagination. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I think it
I'm
is-
not ashamed either. I'm just a little uncomfortable.
I understand, but I do believe that it's an important topic to talk about.
Yeah, it
and
seems
we've,
like it.
we've only just touched the beginning.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot more here to talk about, especially when it comes to strategies, and not only strategies. There's so much more information now as far as artificial insemination. So I'm sure you've noticed that so many people are having twins, triplets. It is actually an ability for us now
To
to
do
be
that.
able to do that. There's also different ways of
to choose the sex of the child.
no,
right?
well, no, and not necessarily in that regard. But if we are starting to be able to create multiple progeny in one particular womb, then you're going to be able to at least bet statistically speaking that you're going to get a mixed bag in some way. So in that way, yes and no. However, there is a lot as it relates to different ways you can get pregnant, and that allows different ages for people to then experience motherhood or fatherhood. Also, there's different ways you can approach, and this part blows my mind, there's different ways you can approach being able to circumvent hereditary disease,
Yes,
which
I
is
heard
so
about that.
brilliant. Yeah, which I'd love to talk about. I don't know really.
We're not gonna have time today.
We don't have that much
no,
time to
because
talk
we're,
about
we're
that.
about 10 minutes left. So
Okay, well, anyway, this helps to establish the baseline for more advanced discussion regarding what happens after
future
sex.
conversation, yes.
What happens
But I love
when
the
it
I
comes to
love the fact
insemination.
that I love the fact that you're talking about that there are ways now that you can eliminate the hereditary scenarios. I think touch on that a little bit because I think it's important for people to know that. I know we can pick it up at a later date.
Yeah,
Maybe next week we can talk about it.
Sure. Just lightly, the
Sprinkle,
brushes,
yes.
are that there's ways that we can create a kid essentially that in some ways can be argued to have three parents, and you can take genetic material from 3 different individuals and be able to put it in a way where one overshadows the other in a particular circumstance, circumventing from that defective gene from showing itself, at least in a way that is going to transfer on to the kid. So we can get into the details when I see you next, but in this particular broad scheme, the kid having the help of 3 individuals ends up having a life that can be healthier. And how do you explain that? And you see, that's
Who's
why
the third person?
And that would, well, you'd have
You
to find,
choose.
you choose, yeah, or the group, the couple chooses.
That's a gray area. I don't like that one.
He doesn't like it.
No,
What do you mean you don't like it? I don't
Because you start
understand that about you.
you start messing with what is nature, and
Okay.
like you're me quoting movies like in Jurassic Park, nature always finds the way. So they were all dinosaurs, and how did they suddenly breed? So I'm just totally kidding. But what I want to say is that I'm not comfortable with more than 2 as far as the parents are concerned. I don't mind them going into the gene and fixing it,
You're not comfortable with it. We'll have to make sure that everybody understands that you're not comfortable.
I'm just saying, you're saying 3, I'm saying,
You're saying 3 is a crowd.
I really do believe that 2 is enough. Because
Yes,
in the
but
third
in this-
person, who is the real parent?
But
You know what I'm saying?
well,
Is it
that's
this
the thing.
male? Is it this female? Because it's 1 egg.
Right, but
So
that's
it's 2 sperms, right?
well,
2 sperm
no,
donors?
it's a little more complex than that. And if I start to open it up, I'd like to
We
get
gotta
into
go to
it,
the next
yeah,
program,
which I
yeah.
will, but not right
Maybe
now.
next
I wanna,
year.
Right. No,
maybe
no,
in a
no.
couple
Next,
years.
well, maybe in the next episode.
Maybe 2 or 3 years.
Because I want to establish what the egg is, how it works, chromosomes. You can't just anyway. But my point too is this: it's okay to have 3. Why not?
In your opinion.
The important thing is that if the kid had a choice, I have the choice of having, let's say in your world, 3 people that I can call parents in some way, and be healthy, or I can have 2 parents and be diseased.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's the better scenario?
Have 2 but not be diseased.
You can't do that.
Why?
Because if that was the case, we wouldn't even be talking about this option.
Well,
This option
you
is only
take
for
portions
people
of
who need it.
you take portions of the 3rd sperm and you fix the sperm that's broken.
Okay, if you can start to do those things,
Then
then you're in the wrong business.
I know,
Then,
but what I'm saying is that's what they need to do, because they need to not put a face on the 3rd parent.
you're just anti-faces.
I
in
love the
general.
idea. No, seriously, I love
Yeah.
the idea of eliminating the disease. But I think if they could find a way to remove the face on the 3rd parent, whereas parts of their sperm, okay, so it's not really your sperm, it's parts of it covering the disease factor of the sperm on this guy. You see what I'm saying?
It's actually egg related. It's not necessarily sperm related. This particular type of
egg related.
invasive.
Okay, so you have 2 moms.
You can.
That's a slippery slope, buddy. 2 moms. I mean, that's psychotic. I think it's crazy. Yeah, I think what you need to do is you can find the parts of the egg, okay, and use the minimal part of that, and don't even let the person. It's like have a bank where it's just a free for all as far
Look,
as
I'm
eggs are concerned.
uncomfortable. You get comfortable. You're uncomfortable talking about sex. I'm uncomfortable talking about this stuff.
That's
with
what we
you
need to do. Why?
Because the way you're talking is as if you've read the research, you've done it, and you have a new way to do this better. I think it's disrespectful for the people who are doing.
Can I
these
tell you
procedures.
something? Okay, right there, what you just said
Yeah.
is exactly what's wrong in the country right now.
That's what's
exactly
wrong.
what you just said. You know why? Because
Why?
you're assuming that because I haven't read all the studies, I can't give an opinion, and that's what's happening. They're thinking, how do you question this president who knows exactly what's happening? He's the president. He must know better. Or how can you question because you don't know better? So you can't say that. There is no such thing as respect or disrespect. You've done the research. You've asked me a question. My point is this. I believe it's going to be difficult, okay, to have 3 parents. So if you can
Let's
find
talk
a
about
way,
that.
if you can find a way, okay, to take parts of the egg of the 3rd parent and use a minimal amount of that, so the 3rd parent doesn't even know. It's like a free for all. It's like a bank, like blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you go into an accident, they just check your blood and you have a certain blood type, and they don't say the blood came from Joe Blow, who now is in your veins, so he's partially a part of you. Okay, or when you do a donor of the heart or donor of the kidney or
But
whatever.
what's wrong with
they
having
don't-
3
Hold on.
parents? Why is
Let
that bad? Some people have no parents in this
Let me
world.
finish my thought. When you do a transplant, right, you, for the most part, are not allowed or don't know who the donor was. Sometimes, but for the most part, you don't. Or even a blood transfusion, right? So why can't you take that part of the egg that helps the process, but don't make that person the mom. Okay, or parent involved. So there's two
Again.
parents. There's already issues with parenting. Now you're going to add a third person in the mix, especially a female, two moms and a dad. That I don't think it's going to fly.
Okay, the first part
Disrespectful or otherwise.
No,
I don't
it's
give
not
a flying F.
Okay.
At this
If
point.
I tell you the research and all that, it's not because I don't think that you shouldn't talk about it. I just it's a respectful way of understanding some of the things that you're saying, and the terminology that you're using is just incorrect. And the things that you're
Incorrect in
saying
what
are.
sense? You said.
Can I finish? Yeah, I'm just rebuttaling what you're saying. Some of the things that you're talking about, even in our current medical science, is just impossible
Okay.
currently.
You said.
So because it's impossible, I don't want you to continue about
You
something.
said.
Okay.
You said that this is how it works. That they take the part of the sperm.
No, I never said
Oh,
sperm. I said everything.
Okay, but earlier you said they take the certain part of the gene that has a problem, and they take the part of the gene from the other parent that doesn't have a problem, and add it to it so the kid could be born with 3 parents, no disease, 2 parents full of disease, right? So
With probability.
in your thought, with your thought pattern, all I said was, hey, is there any way that we can use the third parent's egg or whatever it is, just like a blood transfusion, where they're not involved in the family structure, they're not a third
That's
parent.
after the fact. I mean, you guys.
Well, that's
can
all I was.
decide-
That's
you-
no,
that
no,
has
no,
nothing to
no,
do
no.
with the medical
It is.
process.
It happens up front, so there is no issue. There is no expecting. There's a bank of perfect genes. Okay, coming from perfect random people, and you take that bank and you take that piece and you put that piece in this kid, so the kid doesn't have disease, but he or she has 2 parents, not 3.
Okay.
That's what I
So
said. There's nothing.
procedurally, you
There
wanna
is
change
nothing
it.
disrespectful about that, and it is exactly the way you, on your high and mighty horse, have
Okay.
high mighty horse has gone ahead and pointed out that. So I'm basically going on that.
Fine. I agree.
Tangent.
That's good. That's good.
And at
Tangent's
this
good,
point,
but I
we're
just
coming
wanna-
to the end of
No, we haven't. We still have some time. I just want to say one really important point, which I also find it to be
You have
disrespectful.
60 seconds.
And it's not a biological issue. It's a sociological issue. I know that there's a lot of people dying to have parents out there. There's a
course.
lot of people in foster homes who get shifted from foster home to foster
Yes.
home. They can't even keep those parents. There's some people who aren't even in foster homes.
Sure.
And those people
What's that got to do with this issue?
would be dying to have parents.
But that's not this issue.
I think it is. I think it's amazing if they have 3 parents rather than none.
Wonderful. So, what is your opinion? Leave your comment below. Please subscribe because we want you to be a part of this ride with us. So, do you believe it's better to have 1 parent, 2 parent, 3 parents, no parents? I believe 2 parents are enough. He believes 3 parents are okay. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.